These are the worst buffs in OPBR history. We just got brand new buffs for EX, Oni Zoro, EX Oden, and also some other bounty fests and step ups like Broly and Virgo. And I think this might have genuinely been one of the biggest blunders I've seen in the 4 years that I've been playing this game. So today in this video, I'm pretty much going to be breaking down everything about the buffs. In particular, I'm going to be talking about the Oden and Zoro buffs in particular, because those right there pretty much are the elephants in the room, if you want to call it that. But yeah, mainly I'm going to be talking about those buffs. I'm talking about why these buffs are not fit for the meta right now, and what kind of changes we were expecting in the meta instead of these buffs that we got. And yeah, bro, this is going to be pretty much more like a yapping video rather than a gameplay video. Obviously, I'll play some gameplay for y'all to watch as well while I'm yapping. But yeah, bro, y'all can go ahead, get some coffee, get something to drink, you know, get some popcorn, kick back, relax, and just let's get right into the video. Alright, so first up, we're pretty much going to be talking about the big ass elephant in the room, and that's pretty much going to be the Onigashima Zoro buffs. I think this right here was the most anticipated buff of all time. You know, a lot of people are speculating about the Oni Zoro buffs, saying that Oni Zoro's birthday is on the 11th and the buffs are dropping around the same time. So of course it has to be Oni Zoro, right? It's got to be him, and they already like kind of like predicted it. And of course we did get the Oni Zoro buffs because it was around his birthday and stuff, which is really nice, and people are really excited for these buffs, bro. But honestly speaking, after looking through those buffs, the only like proper buff that I see is like the 80% status nullification that he got, which is obviously was something that he definitely needed, and he got that. Other than that, bro, for the majority of the meta, I don't really see something that will really help him in, like, you know, like do anything in the meta. Like obviously like a good amount of his traits are mainly made for like HP cut and stuff like that to do with Saturn mainly, but other than that, he doesn't really have any kind of like proper buffs. Like they entirely changed his playstyle. Like before the buffs, right, the pre-buff Oni Zoro, his playstyle was pretty much stay at low HP. He had damage reduction when his HP was under 50%, so he could tank a lot of these units like our, you know, Gear 5 V2 Luffy. He could tank Kizaru, all these units. He had a lot of damage reduction, but now they took his damage reduction away, and they instead replaced it by this trait where he pretty much just gets 1% HP every time, you know, if your HP is above 20%, that is, you just regain 1% HP, and you can do that infinitely. But the thing is, like, how are you gonna get your HP back? Perfect dodging is like probably your only chance of getting that. And in this meta, bro, with units like Kizaru going through, like you got Kizaru obviously, which has really fast skills. There's other units like Frankie's Radical Beam that goes through walls. You got Kamusari going through walls that you don't even see. Then a Gear 5 V2 will just punch you from the other side of the map. Again, cannot really see. The perfect dodge mechanic in this game, you can't really perfect dodge, bro. Let's be honest with that. Like, with all these kind of different attacks that we have, like the Kamusaris, of course, you know, you got Gear 5 Luffy's, you know, the V2 Luffy's punch from across the map, Kizaru's skill 1 from across the map. Like, half the units in the meta right now, like, obviously Saturn, obviously, you know, you can counter him, so I'll not talk about him, but like half the units in the meta right now, you're just gonna get hit from across the map. You can't even see the skills happening. You're gonna take damage, right? You're cooked. Like, so many times, bro. I think before, I don't really think they should have touched that part of Oni Zoro. I think they should have just kept him as a tanky attacker at low HP, giving him the damage reduction. I think, bro, that's the trait that mainly like cooked him. I think they should not have changed that trait. They might have they should have maybe given him like maybe 1 or 2 more lives, maybe 3 lives, something like that, instead of just like making him like infinite lives and then just giving him a 1 HP revive, which I don't think really works, because honestly speaking, units like Garb just counter that trait anyways. Garb, Lucci, a lot of these units counter that trait, so I don't really know. It doesn't really make too much sense, bro. So Oni Zoro, bro, I don't know. He's not really tanky anymore. You know, you can't really, the revive trait doesn't really work. There's more Kizus than ever before now because, you know, obviously Saturn is now countered technically because of the Zoro buffs, Oden buffs. You know, Saturn is kind of countered. Saturn's kind of useless in the meta, although he can still counter a few units for the Gear 5s and stuff, but for the most part, Oden cooks him, Zoro cooks him. A lot of units, a lot of meta units now cook Saturn. So Saturn's kind of bad, even though he wasn't that broken, honestly. He already had multiple counters in the meta, you know, like obviously Lucci, Garb, Kalgara, and also other runner counters who are not direct counters that could KO him but could get the flag from him, like Niji and Sabo. And he already had so many counters. I did not understand the reason why you wanted to counter Saturn. He wasn't really that broken. Yeah, he was a menace for Gear 5, so obviously all the light mains who are playing Gear 5 Chopper and stuff, probably bad for them. But for overall, if you look at it, Saturn wasn't really that bad, bro. He wasn't that bad. He had a lot of counters in the meta already. You did not need to counter Saturn. There was literally no reason for countering Saturn in the first place. And due to this, now there's just more Kizus than ever before, bro. It's like literally the entire Kizu meta all over again. But the problem with more Kizus being in the meta right now is that Kizu literally counters like 99.4% of the units in the meta, bro. Other than Gear 5 Luffy, there really isn't like a proper counter, bro. Because like all the other like so-called counters, like your Frankies and Choppers and stuff, they can get cooked by Kizu too, bro. Yes, they can KO Kizaru, but they can also get cooked by Kizaru, if you know what I mean. Like it goes both ways. Gear 5 is like the only like proper like Kizu counter. There's like just one guy. That's it. There's no like multiple counters, and that's why I'm saying, bro, like, and that's like leading into my second point right here, talking about the Oden buffs, is like, why did you buff Oden when Kizu is just such a big problem right now? Kizu is such a big problem in the meta, you know. Kizu will literally absolutely cook Oden. Kuzan's still a thing. Obviously, Kuzan reduced now because of Kizu coming back into the meta, but still, bro, why would you want to buff Oden? Maybe if you buffed, you know, Shanks or Bluffy or somebody along with Oden, and the other EX that you buffed counters Kizu, then it would make a little sense, right? Like, okay, you dropped a Shanks buff or a Bluffy buff that counters Kizaru, so then obviously that unit will counter Kizaru, so there's going to be less Kizaru, so okay, now you can use Oden, right? So that would make a little bit more sense, but no, you're countering Saturn, and then you're, you know, with Oni Zoro, and then you're dropping Oden as the second EX buff, who gets cooked by Kizaru anyways. So I didn't really understand the thought process of that. I don't really know what Bandai was trying to do with those kind of buffs, because Oden just gets cooked by Kizaru, bro. I think they dropped the Oden buffs a little too early. I think they should have still waited like a couple months before dropping the Oden buffs, because like right now he just gets cooked, but there's no point in buffing Oden. Like you've literally just cooked Oden like even more, because you're not gonna drop more Oden buffs for like the next 3-4 years now. So Oden mains, bro, they're kind of cooked, not gonna lie. Like Oden is just cooked now because you just dropped his buffs way too early. He's cooked in the meta. You literally, like, bro, honestly speaking, what I was saying, this was something that I was saying like from a long time now, and that's pretty much that you want to drop 2 EXs now, and both of them should like pretty much counter Kizaru. If both of them countered Kizaru, there would be a lot fewer, like a lot less Kizarus in the meta right now. They literally, like, the amount of Kizarus in the meta would reduce drastically, and then slowly by slowly, like, you could maybe even drop another like batch of counters like next month or the month after that for Kizu, and like reduce the amount of Kizarus drastically from the meta, bro. And then you can drop your Oden buffs, bro. Oden will be back in the meta. Oden will be good. So I think that's probably the main reason why I said don't drop Oden buffs so early. Like literally, I think the Oden buffs are way too early right now. That's why I was saying, you know, buff Oden, or not buff Oden, buff like Shanks or Big Mom, or maybe even Bluffy, one of these units who can counter Kizaru. And once Kizaru is countered, then you can bring in these 1 HP units, like, you know, or I mean units with a 1 HP trade like Oden or Yamato. They'll be back in the meta. It'll be a lot more fun with like more units to play in the meta, because Kizaru literally counters like the entire meta, bro, other than maybe like a handful of units. But I can probably count units in like single digits who literally counter Kizaru, but there's so few units that counter Kizaru in the meta right now. He literally cooks on like the entire meta, bro. He's like a cancer to the meta right now, and that's why I've been pushing so much for trying to say Kizaru, like, just keep him down, like, you know, try to sideline him from the meta. You're not obviously not gonna nerf him, so just drop more counters, bro. Just drop more counters for Kizaru to the point where he kind of like gets sidelined from the meta. He falls down a little bit. He has a lot of counters, so people stop playing him as much. But right now, you know, you just have Kizarus, bro. Kizarus are running around. They're getting 15 kills a game, bro, by just pressing a couple buttons, and it's not really fun anymore. It's just like the Kizaru meta all over again, bro. Like literally, like that's why I've been saying, like, these buffs, instead of focusing on Saturn, it should have been focused on Kizaru. You should have focused on getting Kizaru out of the meta, bro, instead of trying to get Saturn, because Saturn was not even that broken. I'm not even gonna lie. Maybe it could be like Bandai was thinking like, oh, we're gonna drop like Gorosei EXs after this, like all the other remaining Gorosei. They're probably gonna come out on 7th anniversary as EXs. In my opinion, I think most of them are gonna come out as EXs, or if not all of them are gonna come out as EXs, and I think they want to use those guys to counter Kizaru, which could make sense. But I don't really know, bro. Like, why would you want to try and keep Kizaru and like make him more popular in the meta? Because he's just like cancerous in the meta right now. Like, you just press a few buttons, you get 15 kills a game. Like, it does not make sense, bro. It's literally like a lot of players like us, bro, we're just playing Respawn Simulator. If you've tuned into my streams, bro, sometimes like half of the games that I play is just Respawn Simulator. I just literally spawn in. I cannot get to the first flag, bro. I die before I get to the first flag, and then I respawn my second character, go to the flag, I die again. Like, it's literally respawn simulator, and it's just because of Kizaru, bro. And some people will say skill issue. I already see those comments incoming, but it's not even skill issue, bro. That's why I said, like, literally, Kizaru's skills hit you from across the map. Luffy's skill to hits you from across the map. There's all these Kamusaris and Frankie's Radical Beam and all these other skills that go through walls. You can't even see it coming. Like, half the skills in the meta, you can't even see it coming, bro. They're just gonna hit you, like, and they're so fast, you can't react. You literally cannot react. That's not skill issue. That's literally just a Bandai issue and a Kizaru issue. We need to get rid of Kizaru, bro. I get to a point, like, sometimes, yeah, you can dodge his skills, but most of the times, bro, you can't even dodge Kizaru's skills. You cannot. Some of these skills, like I said, bro, they hit you from across the map. You like there's gonna be somebody on the other side of the map that you cannot even see. He's gonna hit you. Like, that's how broken, like, some of the units right now in the meta are. And that's what I'm saying. If you get rid of Kizaru, this meta is just gonna be so much better, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, Kizaru, like, is like the main issue right now. I'm not even gonna lie. And like I said, bro, maybe he's probably gonna get countered by the upcoming Gorosei that we're gonna get for 7th anniversary, which I think is probably gonna be the EXs for 7th anniversary. It's gonna be all the Gorosei. But yeah, hopefully, you know, I've yapped about like why these buffs are really bad, but let's talk about a few things that we could do in the future to improve the situation. Obviously, again, main thing is to counter Kizaru, because he's like the main problem in the meta right now. And the main thing you can do is obviously drop more bounty fests and stuff. The upcoming bounty fests, that whoever comes in, bro, they should be able to counter Kizaru in some way, shape, or form. Like, we have to do that. Not only the bounty fests, but also the upcoming buffs. Like, they're releasing like buffs almost every season, which is a good thing. That's definitely a step in the right direction. You know, Bandai's definitely doing a great thing by releasing these buffs every season, which is really, really good. And they should keep doing that. But also keep in mind that these buffs, at least 1 or 2 units, should be countering Kizaru, so you can slowly, you know, keep chipping away at Kizaru with counters one by one, and try to like sideline him a little bit and make him not as popular. Because right now, people are just playing Kizaru, bro. Kizaru is just so broken. People are just playing him. They're just spamming skills, pressing buttons, getting 15 KOs a game. It's not even like fun anymore. Like the game is not fun when Kizaru's in there, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. So I think that's probably the best way forward. Like, whatever bounty fests you drop, whatever buffs you drop, try to counter Kizaru in some way, shape, or form, bro. I think the Stussy buffs and the Lilith buffs were really good. Stussy actually cooks Kizaru quite well, and you should keep dropping units like those, bro. And I really, really hope that when Tanape looks at this meta, bro, or not even Tanape, whoever the dev team is, whoever looks at the meta and makes these changes and makes the main decisions, they look at this meta and they're like, and they instantly go like, oh, Kizaru, this guy's the problem. The next buffs that we drop, okay, we'll drop one unit, at least one of the units should like hard counter Kizaru, or at least the next bounty fest, at least one of those bounty fests should like hard counter Kizaru in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's like, I think the next bounty fest should probably be like Kuma or Bonnie, one of those two, I think, because we are getting the Egghead theme. You know, we got the Seraphims, now we got the Egghead Strats and stuff. So I think next in line is probably gonna be Kuma Bonnie, if I'm not wrong. It could be someone else, but whoever it is, bro, I'm thinking Kuma Bonnie, because obviously they can like do more damage to like Navy units and stuff like that. You know, can make a trade up like that, which could possibly counter Kizaru. So that's why I was pushing for Kuma and Bonnie as the new Bonnie Fest. But whoever it is, bro, Kuma, Bonnie, whatever. If it's even someone else, I think at least one of them should counter Kizaru. If they're buffing someone else next season, it should, like, at least one of them should kind of like hard counter Kizaru to try and like make the meta a better place, bro. Like, because the meta right now is just Kizaru meta. Like, it's not even funny right now. Like, Kizaru is just ruling the meta. He's absolutely cooking everybody. There's people out here just playing, spamming Kizaru like all day long. They're getting 15 KOs a game, and the game is not really even fun anymore, bro. I remember the Gear 5 Luffy meta, bro. When Gear 5 just dropped, the meta was so good, bro. I even got to Legends League like twice, like back to back, like literally 2 seasons back to back. And literally, it was so nice, bro. It was so fun to play in the meta, bro, back then, because Kizaru's was just completely sidelined. And I think everyone can speak for this. I think I'm not the only person who felt like that. I think a lot of people were pushing Legends League that season. It was quite competitive as well. You know, a lot of people were enjoying the game, bro. I saw so many like content creators who had gone away that started coming back, you know, into the game. A lot of people left the game that started coming back because the Gear 5 Luffy meta was genuinely so good, bro. A lot of content creators came back. A lot of my friends who stopped playing the game, they kind of came back. A lot of people came back into the game because of that meta, right? Because that meta was genuinely like so good. There was no characters that were like superly OP. You know, Gear 5 Luffy already had like a few counters. You know, when Saturn came out, obviously he had a few counters. And I think one thing that Bandai needs to make sure is like every EX that they drop from now on should be like Luffy and Saturn, bro. They should be like, you know, you already have at least 2 or 3 counters that are existing in the meta units, and obviously after that you might drop like another EX that might counter the previous EX. You can keep doing that, but I would say you should never drop another EX like Kizaru, bro, because Kizaru on release had 0 counters. Like, I'm talking proper counters, bro. Like, he had 0 counters, bro. 0 counters. Like, nobody could cook him. People are saying, oh, Garp can do this, Garp can do that, but, you know, Kizaru cooks every one of those counters, like so-called counters that people call them, right? So that's probably one of the things that I would say going forward, is to make sure that you just don't drop another EX like Kizaru that has like 0 counters. Make sure that every EX that you drop at least has 1 or 2 counters in the meta already, so the meta will be kind of balanced, just like how Luffy and Saturn were, bro. Luffy and Saturn were like the perfect examples of EXs, bro. They're really good, they're skill based, and plus they have like 2 or 3 counters already existing in the meta, which is really nice. And yeah, bro, I think that's probably all the topics that I wanted to cover in this video. Let me know down in the comments what y'all think about this situation right now that's going on in the meta, or maybe if I missed out on certain topics, let me know what y'all want me to talk about in the future. Maybe if I missed out on some things, I could make a second video, like a part 2 of this video or something. But yeah, that pretty much is it for the video, guys. If y'all did enjoy the video, make sure y'all go and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and I'll catch y'all guys in the next one.